All right, hey everybody. So I've got everybody here. Yeah, Angelo and Crystal and Patrick, and so we're watching Infested tonight. And this is because Crystal hates spiders, don't you?
And the
Yes,
French.
definitely afraid.
And the French,
Okay,
yes,
I'll blend
and the French. So, as I normally do with all the beginning of these stupid reviews, is thoughts. I don't know. Like the trail looked interesting. It looked kind of spooky and ridiculous. And I don't know about you guys. What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna hate it because it's just real spiders in this movie.
I'm gonna probably behind because I gotta read.
I'm just here to see my sister be miserable, and there's a possibility I might have to blow up your toilet because I think the 2 chili dogs are calling me soon.
They're gonna try and scare me.
All right, you heard it first here. They're gonna blow up my fucking toilet on this movie review. So I'm glad that you guys can really fucking enjoy this. And yeah,
Family.
we are family, and they're going to be also as we go through this, not just like I normally do, putting little clips from the trailer and stuff. There's also going to be reaction shots from Crystal.
Aw, man.
So
And from Angelo in the bathroom.
and from Angelo in the bathroom. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll see you guys in a little bit, and we'll talk about the movie. Hey guys, and welcome to the basic review part of this. So I do have a reaction from everybody else that was in the room, but that's going to be a second part because there are some minor spoilers in what they were talking about. And so I'm going to do that before like the big spoiler section of the whole thing. And believe it or not, I am an idiot when it comes to recording these things at times. And I had issues at the start where it didn't record and I did a whole thing. And then I did a whole thing where it did record. But somebody forgot to put the goddamn sound up on the soundboard for the mic, so it didn't record shit. And here we are at time number 3. So, you guys get the short version. If you've seen Spaceballs before, you kind of know what this is. Do you? Yes. Do you? Yes. Okay, you're married. Basically, what I want to say about this movie. So, I feel like this is a really mixed bag, just in general. And what is mixed about it? I think that the tension is good. The creepy crawliness is very good when it comes to the practical effects of the spiders, because they did use a lot of real spiders in this movie, and they use some puppets for the spiders as well. Very minimal use of CGI. There is some when you see some of the spiders. It just can't be helped when I think the spiders get so big in the way it does. Unless it's a lot of perspective stuff, then hey, that's pretty goddamn good if you did the whole thing. I think the acting is pretty well done. As I've said before, when it comes to foreign horror movies, I don't really know what is really good acting and what's really bad acting. You can always, I think you know when really good acting is, right? But maybe that is to me because I don't understand the language, and since I don't understand the language, I don't get why that would be considered bad, right? But just in general, I think that the overall acting in the movie is good. Maybe the sister is probably one of the weaker ones in the movie. I also I'm really bad with with French and French names. So the only one I can kind of remember is Jordy, right? So they're just going to be named what they are. But I think where it fails a lot in this movie is that the payoff for some of the things is not as good as it possibly could be, right? I think that there's like I said, a lot of good tension, but it just ultimately fails when it's trying to be really good, right? When it ends up just being kind of like, nah, right? And I think that where people are going to fall short is that they're just going to think that the scares aren't as good as they possibly could be, right? Where and that's a little bit of it, but I think that it does so many things right that you get some really good buildups and some really good shots in this movie. And there's probably 2 particular scenes in this movie that are really good. And I think one really exemplifies what I really wanted out of the film, and one that does a really good job with the setup, but I think the final execution is not where it could possibly land itself, right? To be a really good horror film. So it kind of teeters over what my final score of this movie is going to be. I think that, if you don't know the basic story of the film, basically a young guy, he goes and he's trying to buy some jewelry for somebody and who's leaving the apartment building that they're living at. And he ends up buying that plus a spider that was brought in from Dubai. And when he gets that spider, he's done with it and escapes in the building, and it starts to infest the building, right? And then it's about their survival with it. That's the basic thing of the movie, and that's why I think that this ends up being a shorter review than some of the other ones that are out there. So maybe I won't hit everything when it comes to the spoiler section, especially since this is another re-record of that. But in general, it's pretty straightforward for what it is. But again, in some parts of the execution, it doesn't live up to maybe my expectations, because in watching this, when I think of French horror, I think more of the French extreme, and it's more like a US PG-13, right? And the thing is that, like I say, PG-13, not all of them are terrible. There are some that do really well, and this kind of is in between what would be a bad PG-13 movie and a good PG-13 movie. And there are some reaction shots that are going to be put in there from my cousin who was here, Crystal. But she didn't have the reactions that I wanted her to, and it's kind of explained in the minor spoiler section that's going to pop up with everybody's reaction. So overall, I give this movie a solid 3 out of 5 spider cocoons. I think that it's good. I think it teeters on that 4 and 2, where some people are going to think it's a 2, and I think that if they'd fixed a couple of things and maybe had better resolutions to some things, it would be a 4. And it really comes down to the visceral nature of things. Like, I think it needs a little bit of gore, and it doesn't really have any, or it needs to be faster on the delivery of those things. And I'll explain some of that stuff in the spoiler section rather than, talk about it here, because I want to talk about like the specific scenes and give you examples of what I think that where it works and it doesn't, right? So so that's basically it. If you're gonna go watch it, and this is just like I said, this one probably is a little bit quicker than the other ones that I've done, because I'm a little upset with myself as well. But like I said, it's available on Shudder right now, so watch it. And when I first saw it on Shudder this morning, because I went to add it to my favorites so I can get it really quick so that we could be able to watch it. And the reason why we have my cousin watching this is because, and you can call us dicks if you want, since she really hates spiders, we thought, well, maybe we'll watch it together and I can get her reactions from it. And I asked her, hey, can I film you to get some of your reactions? And she said yes. So she's in on it with the whole thing, and she was a good sport about watching it with us as well, because she still sees a lot of horror movies, even if she fucking hates spiders. So, but I really think that this morning when I saw it on Shudder, it was at a 5 out of 5 skulls is the way they have it over there. But as we went to watch the movie, it moved down to a 4. I think by the end of the weekend, it's going to be at a 3, because I think there's plenty of people that are going to give it 1s and 2s because they don't like some of the other stuff. And there's not a whole lot of social commentary, but I think there is some, and I'll lightly touch it in the spoiler section, what I think it could possibly be about and what they're focusing on because of a couple of things they said. But I think that it starts off a little bit slow, and it's one of the bad slows. It's not necessarily one of the good slows, but I think there's too much in there that doesn't get resolved well enough in the film for me personally that would affect some people. And it definitely affected like Patrick. I know that he felt a little bit more than me. Like his best quote of the whole thing is that there's a lot of spiders, but there's not a lot of spiders. And we'll talk about that more in the spoiler section. So thank you guys so much for checking. This is where you end the video. Thank you for checking it out. Check the description below for everybody's links and all that stuff, so you can check out whatever else they're going on as well. And so there'll be the mild spoiler section with their reactions next, and then we'll go into full-blown spoilers. So I'll see you guys in just a little bit. Okay, bye guys. Okay, we're done with the movie, and I want to get all of their thoughts with it. So who wants to start? Angelo, Patrick, Crystal.
Spiders equal and light equal don't mix. That don't really make sense. It was all right, but I thought we were going to see some more horrifying spider stuff.
It was okay. Thankfully, it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
I think you got scared more right there than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, there's some parts where I kind of I didn't really jump, but I was like,
Yeah, your reactions weren't great for film, I'll tell you that.
Hey, I had better commentary than
we
reactions.
We should see more deaths, especially the dog. We should have saw it coming out of his gut. Right,
kind of did.
I don't want to see
Stupid
that.
ass.
But the spiders still are the grossest thing in the movie, though.
Angelo?
I mean, it was alright. It wasn't bad, but I have to agree with Patrick. Like, the whole spiders and lights, like, oh, light's turning on me. I gotta stop. It's like red light, green light. But, like, but, but, but on a positive note, hey, I didn't blow up your toilet.
that
Not yet.
that is very true. He's not allowed to stay here anymore. So, any final thoughts? You guys give your rating out of 5.
2.
Chris gives it a 2.
2.5.
3.5.
3.5 for Angelo. 2.5 for Patrick.
Yeah, like I said, I just feel like. I mean, granted, okay, yes, there was a lot of spiders, but at the same time, I don't feel like there was really a lot of spiders. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. It makes sense to what you're saying, and that's probably going to be longer with the spoiler side of what I do.
Yeah.
Like the extreme spoiler side. There's like minor spoilers in this section, but
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely needed to have more spider than it had way too long of a beginning.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they were trying to develop characters that, I mean, at the same time, no one gives a shit about. Get to the spiders, get to some kills, get to some gross shit. Though the damn cover for this movie is a guy with spiders all over him, and we never got to saw that.
All right, any final thoughts besides more spiders?
I will never watch this movie again.
Liar.
That's a one-timer for me. Nope.
Not really. So
Okay.
64 on TikTok.
I'll put that all there. It'll be underneath you. All that fun stuff. Yeah, make sure you follow the rest of them. Nello Angelo 420, Dragonfly Rain, Solus _ 64. There. You happy? All right. Stay tuned for the spoilers. Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to the spoiler section of this video. And what I really want to talk about when it comes to this, and we're going to go through the movie like I've done before in the last couple ones, and a lot of people seem to really like that these sections are in these videos. So I will, I appreciate that. I appreciate the feedback on that. So I'm going to continue to kind of try to do it this way moving forward for these videos, rather than just kind of go through the whole thing and say, oh, there's minor spoilers. Oh, there's this. If you've seen some of the really older videos that I have on the channel, not necessarily the 31 and 31 videos. Again, I'm going to reiterate, if you go back and you watch those ones are specifically designed to be bite-sized. That I just want to talk about what I saw for the day, because in October, if you've never done it before, it's 31 horror movies in 31 days, and it takes a lot. And to do a full 30-minute to 40-minute review of each one of those movies on a daily basis, it would just wipe me the fuck out, to be honest, because this is not something I do regularly. I'm trying to do it more regularly, but so to get to the meat of the spoilers on this. The biggest issue I have with this movie is that it does a lot of setup and doesn't always have the greatest payoff, right? In the way that it does the movie. From how it presents the characters to some of the issues that are on the backside, like the B-side of the spider story that's there, that just the resolutions don't match what I kind of would expect. Or that I feel that do the movie enough justice, right? So the story itself starts off really strong when we're in Dubai and we see the guys are capturing the spiders, and it's pretty intense in the way that they're doing it. Like, they're running around the desert, and it's funny because my other cousin Angelo, and if you don't know, Angelo and Crystal, the brother and sister. So Angelo, if you looked at the video previously, he's all the way on the left, and then Patrick, who's on the right, is the husband of Crystal. And so, and I've known my cousins for my entire life. We really have spent like all since they were born. Basically, we've spent a ton of time together, especially when I was a little kid. And then Patrick, once he married into the family, he's a friend. He's not necessarily just like a cousin-in-law or something like that. But he's involved in a lot of shit that I do, and they're all great people. Even though Angelo can be kind of a dick sometimes, nonetheless. But that's my family. So we say that's the Reyes way. And so, but when it comes to to this movie, and like I said in the beginning, it's like it's not subtitled. You have no idea what the character's saying, and he was like, "I thought this movie was subtitled," and I was like, "I was too," and I made sure the captions are on. They should be going, but they don't subtitle it until it gets to the French part of the movie. So, you have them out there, and it's great because they're like, they're gassing the spiders out to catch the spiders because they're weird insect poachers, and one of them actually jumps on the guy's face, and then they capture all the other spiders that move around, and then you see like the spider trying to come out of the guy's throat, but there's no gore in it. It just kind of like moves out from his throat, and then there is a cutoff when he goes to chop the guy's head to kill the spider that's inside of him, and this is where that's where kind of get the tone of the way the movie's going to go, right? Because if it was going to go into the, say, a little more gory extreme, it's not to say that it can't be effective, it's not gory, but this is where you'd have some of the gore, like they'd slice through the neck, but instead it gets that cut, right? That cut to black, and now we're in France, and now we're meeting our main character as he's going to buy the jewelry, right? And that's where I was kind of like, okay, this is what I'm kind of expecting to get out of the movie, but it's still an impressive opening. And even the scene next that we have there of him like haggling and trying to find the right thing, you get a good idea of who our main character is. He wants to buy this piece of jewelry, and he says everything you around here is so cheap. I'm not trying to buy it for a 16-year-old girlfriend. I'm trying to buy it for somebody special. And he takes him to like the back room, right, where he has all this other stuff, and that's where he sees the spider, because this guy deals with importing illegal animals, right? And the dude, we find out, is also really into reptiles and insects and everything like that, and so he wants to buy the spider because he finds the spider beautiful, and he's kind of like wanting to save it in a way. So he buys the spider and the jewelry for 100 euros and then takes it back, and we find a little more of where he lives. It's kind of in like the French barrio, if you want to say it that way. Kind of like a very urban area, very low income area where the lights barely work in the place, and the lights have a freaking timer that you have to twist so that way the building doesn't spend a lot on electricity because they're trying to make it as cheap as possible for them. It's kind of like the electricity around here, the way that I'm surprised that they don't have one of those buttons in the room where we do laundry. So that way, if you don't twist it, you constantly go back and twist it, your clothes aren't going to be dry, even though the freaking dryer's not done doing whatever it needs to do with its timer. But nonetheless, so he goes there. We get to meet his sister. There's arguments between them about, the sister's like saying it's too much money to keep up the place, and she's trying to do fix a bunch of the stuff in there, but he's like, why are we spending our time on that? And he talks about, I guess their mother died at some point, in that he feels like she's more fixated on, she's forgotten her mother, more fixated on the other stuff that go on with the house. And there's that little turmoil that gets there, and yeah, it's probably also going to come back up at some point in the movie. But ultimately, they have the party for, the one lady, she's leaving, and she kind of became the mother figure to them, once their mother died, and was helping take care of them. And the sister doesn't kind of want to go, but he kind of like, we have to go because she helped us and she took care of us. So, we have to pay our respects to her. And that's where, we also get to meet his like friend that's there. And he has a really funny intro to this movie where he's coming in with these bikes, and he looks over and he's like, why are you stealing bikes? He's like, no, I'm not stealing them. I borrow them, but the people never ask for them back. So I keep them. And you're fucking stealing them. But I think there's a thing like he used to be kind of like a thief or a young hoodlum or scraping whatever money he could get by, but he wants to be like a sneakerhead, right? He wants to be a shoe dealer, and he's got all these shoe boxes and shoes that are inside of his like little storage area that he's at, and he's meaning to sell these one pair of shoes, but he wants to get the perfect shoe box, right, for the guy. He wants it to be brand new because he notices this one's like wet, and he can't give it to him because that is not a good presentation and doesn't make him a good salesman. So they go to the party. That's where they run to the guy that wants the shoes, and it's funny with that guy because eventually, he does get the shoes, and he just kind of tosses the box. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He's just like, my name's Tien, so he wants these specific shoes that start with a T and an N, right? Because everybody calls me that. And he's like, no one calls you fucking Tien. Unless, he's going to go over there to do solar flare or some shit like that. Then you call him Tien. But nonetheless, like, they go into the party, and you get to meet more of the people. Like, you meet the old Asian lady that's like the super for the building, and she's like bringing out the trash, and a bunch of the kids start messing with her, and he like reprimands them and stops them. And it's funny because Patrick goes, he's like, well, if this was the U.S., they all would have jumped him when he tried to like help the old lady. And in parts of the U.S., I would say, yeah, that's definitely something that would happen. But even then, she like totally like reprimands him of how he doesn't put away his garbage right because it always breaks and everything in there, and she's always having to clean up. And then when he picks up the stuff, it like sprays all over his hoodie. And she's like, yeah, see, that's why you got that shit on you, because you don't do this right. Not that thank you for helping me in stopping these kids for scaring the shit because they're throwing fireworks at her. But no, like instead it's do your shit right so I don't have to do extra work. Like it's crazy. So they're at the party and everything is like great and everything like that. And there's the one guy who wants to be in MMA, and we meet this other older man who basically comes up to them and calls him a boxer. He's like, I'm not doing boxing anymore. I'm doing MMA. It's like boxing but more savage. And the guy's like, well, because they're about to smoke a joint. He's like, well, then you shouldn't smoke. And then he goes, grabs the joint from our main character and says, neither should you, and takes it and like either, I don't remember if he throws it out the window or he just like takes it and like crumples it up, or he's going to smoke it. It could be one of those things. Maybe, old dude likes to party and that's just the way he's going to do. That's how he gets his free weed. He just tells the kids that they shouldn't be smoking, goes and steals their weed, and he's got his weed for himself. I don't fucking know. But it's just funny in the way that like he treats them, and he's kind of treating them like, because the one kid's about to spark up and he's like, you don't smoke around the older people, like dummy. You do it on your own. If you do it here, then they're going to tell your folks, and then you're going to get in like hella trouble. That's how you hide it. Like, just don't be an idiot. And it's funny because they're also playing Mortal Kombat 3 on the TV. And then my cousin goes, how do you know they're not playing Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3? I'm like, touche. But all I see on the screen is Sector and Sub-Zero, and that's just the way this goes. I'm just thinking it's regular MK3. But they start talking about like, one guy's like, next, it's stuck loading, and I'm like, it doesn't load unless you're playing like the PlayStation version. Then there's a really ridiculous amount of load when it comes to that game. So the after this whole party and everything, and while he's at the party, because when he goes back home, and after he has his little thing with his sister about his mom, he takes the spider and he takes it out of the little box that he bought it in, and puts it in a shoebox with some toilet paper, right, and then covers the box to keep the spider in there. And then, like, because he puts it, I believe, in the same wet box that he brings up from upstairs, it has a tear in the corner, and that's how the spider gets out and causes all the issues. So the next morning after the party, he wakes up and there's a bunch of noise in the bathroom, and that's where we get the other conflict of the movie, where we get to meet his like ex-best friend that has come to help them, right? It's him, and I can't tell, and maybe I just missed it for a moment, because you're at home, there are still some distractions while you're watching a movie, even if it's subtitled. There's less distractions for me. I tend to pay more attention because it is subtitled, right, rather than it just being a straight up movie and that's in English, where if I get bored of something, I kind of move around, or because I'm still listening to it, but I'll end up looking at my phone or some shit like that. But if I'm really engrossed in the movie, I don't do that at all. Or if I'm doing a movie for the podcast, because I really need to pay attention to shit that's going out there. But here, I might have missed something, but I can't tell if that was his sister or his girlfriend. I'm thinking it might be his sister, but I'm going to call her sister girlfriend from now on, because I'm just not 100% sure. If you know, let me know in the comments below. But so his ex-best friend from childhood and the sister girlfriend are there to help his sister do some of the repairs on the house. And he's upset because he's like, why is he here? I don't want him here. And they had a falling out. And again, they spend like way too much time on this type of bullshit, right? For the payoff that you're going to get later for this, it's just not worth it for what they're doing. And this intro to this movie and everything that they're building up, like, I get the party, because at the party, the guy tells him, I need the shoes. You're going to get it to me tomorrow, because the shoes are falling apart and he's not TN without his TNs. And so, but then you have this conflict that's set up, and this is just, I think it feels like it's too far into the movie, but it's basically Act 1 is all set up to the next part, right? So that day, after they have the argument with the guy and go away and all the other fun stuff, he goes and delivers the shoe. We get to meet another character that's definitely a dick and thinks that he's like slinging drugs when he's really just giving him the shoes that he needs, because I guess he's trying to be like, oh, well, there must be drugs inside those shoes, so I'm going to be watching. I'm watching you. Make sure that you're not doing anything bad to our community out here. You hear? And so he gets the shoes, and of course, what's going to be in the shoes? The fucking spider, right? So the spider's in the shoe, and he goes home, and he's got this pit bull with him, and but it's named Maggie. I can remember the dog's name because it's a dog. But when he goes home, put on the shoes, yeah, the spider's in one of the shoes, and you get a really good creepy scene. Like, it's not like this doesn't need the big long setup. Like, they don't like slowly pan onto the shoe and show the shoe a bunch and like, look, that's where it's going to happen. It's going to come from. It's just kind of like you kind of know, and it's just what's going to happen. But he just like kind of casually puts on the shoe, and then we just like and then when he pulls it off, that's when the spider comes out of the shoe, and he throws it on the ground, and then he kills the spider with the shoe. And then when he's looking at the shoe, all of a sudden, all these baby spiders run up his arm, and it's creepy as hell. It's disgusting. That's good. I like the way that this is done. Is it the best? No, but I think it's a good setup for the spiders and understanding what the spiders can do, right? Because even though they killed this spider, there were a ton of the spiders that came out of the whole thing as well. And then the dog, of course, eats the dead spider that's on the ground. So you know that the spiders, they do tell you later that the spiders, when they're under the in danger and they fear a predator, that they will breed 10 times faster than they normally would. And that's why this place gets infested so quickly, is because the spiders, I think, believe that the humans are predators, and it's a negative for them to be there, right? So even if he kept it in like a little box or kept it in his little like shitty terrariums that he had on the wall for all his other little animals, it probably would have exploded in a mass of spiders once that spider laid a cocoon in all of its fucking eggs. So when we go back to our protagonist for the movie, he finds a cocoon in his room and then throws it into a shoebox under his bed and throws the shoebox in there to hide it. So like he's like, oh shit, the spider got away. I can't let anybody know I had this. Oh shit, here's a cocoon. I'm gonna throw it under the bed and we're gonna keep it there, which does come back to haunt us later. So we have the first death of the movie, and it's okay. We do get to see another shot of him after he's been kind of like bitten up by the spiders, but looks like he has a bunch of like eggs and shit like on his body. He's got all these bumps and everywhere like that. Like the spiders have basically laid their eggs inside of him, right? And eventually the cops show up, and that's where the asshole from earlier is blaming our protagonist for causing him to OD. He's like, I saw him sell heroin to him and sell him other drugs, and he fucking OD'd, and it's all his fucking fault. And he's the one, I believe his name is Caleb, and it's all Caleb's fault. And, that's the one that's gonna, he's the reason why this is all going downhill, and all the cops are here, and yada, yada, yada. And then he's like, no, and he argues with them, but eventually they go back upstairs, and, this is where everything kind of starts to fall apart for our protagonist and his friends, right? Because they all they figure out everything about the spider, that it's possible that the spider got away, and this is the cause of everything as they're going through. Because there's a scene where the spider like gets into the vents, and there's like a bunch of spiders in there, and the sister girlfriend, she's in the bathroom, and this one's done. This is actually the scene that I really do like. I think that it has a great ending, the scene. And this is what I mean for this movie, that it doesn't have good payoffs, and this is the way I think that you can do a lot of these payoffs in this movie. And the biggest thing that I have is that when it comes to movies like this, when you're slow and methodical and you get the creepiness factor, like, because they go through like the grates, the tubes of the vents in it, in the central air that they have in there, and you see all the webs and all the spiders and everything like that, and then you go onto her and she's in the bathroom, and then behind her on the wall you see the spiders popping out of the vent, and they pop the cover off the vent, and they're all crawling on the wall. So you get that creepiness. Oh my God, they could attack from anywhere, and it could be anything. And then she goes and puts the vent away, and then she accidentally falls into the tub. You think that the spider's going to come out of there, but she slips and falls, lands in the tub, and she's like, no, I'm okay. I just fell down in here. I'll be fine. And then, she looks at and she thinks there's something with the towel that's on the door. And when she moves the towel, there's no spider there. So again, really good setup for this whole thing, right? And then she sees the spider on the wall, and it starts to chase after her, and she locks herself into the shower that's there. It's one of those standing showers that's there. Then she calls for everybody's help, and then the ex-best friend comes in there, and they want him to just kill it, but he doesn't want to kill anything. So he's trying to, like, do the cup thing where you have the cup and you have the piece of paper, you slide it in a spider, and then you put the cup on top of it. So that way that you hold it into that thing and then you just release it outside. But he's unable to do it. And they're just like, kill it, kill it, kill it. And eventually he takes a broom and he tries to shove it and kill it while it's underneath the sink that's there, or the cabinets that they have, and he's unable to do it. And then when it finally comes like after him again, and this is where I'm talking about, like, everything's relatively well set up. It's all creepy, it's all slow. Even him trying to get the spider, the scene takes a while. But if you have a good ending and a good payoff, it works so well, and because you get that relief that comes from that section that's there. So when he's like not able to get in, the spider's like barely moving, and maybe it's going to jump at him, maybe it's not going to jump at him. It's good tension, and it's creepy, and it's, again, well done. And then, he's unable to kill it, and it's slowly coming out, and he throws the towel on, and then he stomps it to death. And he's like, there, aren't you glad that I killed it? But when he releases the towel, this is where that shocking moment comes through, because all of a sudden there are shitloads of spiders just everywhere that are different sizes, spreading all over the bathroom floor, and they all freak out. I audibly went, holy shit. And that's the type of thing that you get a holy shit moment for this. So it's a good release. You have all this slow tension, this build up, this creepiness with the spiders. Where could they possibly be? Is he able to get rid of it? Did he actually kill it? And then, okay, yeah, he totally killed it. He got it. And then the spider just is spreading all these things. It's really well done. But those moments don't really exist in this movie, and that's the problem. This is one of the few scenes that are exactly the way that I feel like the rest of the movie could have been, and it just fails on that. And it sucks, because everything from here on out is just them trying to escape from the spiders. And there isn't those moments. So, like, they didn't need to resolve the ex-best friend thing, but they do, and they do it in a shitty way, right? And, I could probably have you guess in the way that they do it, but I probably would tell you that you're wrong if you know what it is. So, well, if you know what it is, then you know the way that it is. But if you're just going to make a guess on it, you'd probably be wrong. And I think that part could have been done a little differently, because they decide that they need to leave the building. The ex-friend says, okay, I'm going to give you 15 minutes to get out of here. Go ahead and help the people that you want to help, because he wants to help everybody, right? As many people. He wants to help the lady that's been like a mother to them, and a couple other people he wants to get out of the building. One of the younger kid that he was like trying to be like kind of a mentor to, to tell him to not fuck up. In the beginning, don't do that to people that help you, because the kid was the one that messed with the old Chinese lady, or the old Asian lady, I should say. And then he was the one trying to smoke up there at the lady's party, when he's like, no, he's trying to be at least somewhat of a mentor to him, right? And of course, that kid ends up dying. Actually, it's kind of funny too, because he tries to kick the spider and he kicks through the wall, and then he sticks his head in the wall like a fucking idiot. Like, why are you gonna do that? And when he sticks his head, oh yeah, there's all the webs and stuff, and the spiders fall on his face and end up killing him that way. And then he's screaming, and his dad is drunk in the living room. He's like, Dad, and his dad's like, like, that's the theory. And they try to go for the old lady that had the party, and when they get into her place, she's just sitting there in her chair, and you can just see her like this. And of course, you know that she's probably dead. And when they get closer, like, she starts twitching a little bit, and they're like, she's moving. And they get closer, then the spiders come out. But they don't, like, it isn't a dramatic come out. It's just like they kind of like come out of her, and then they freak out and they leave, like, okay, we're getting out of here. And then, like, you meet the old guy from the party, right, that was getting them to stop smoking, and he's like, I need help. Can you guys please help me? And one of them wants to help, and the other one, his friend that stole the bikes, they're the one trying to gather everybody. He's like, no, he's probably been bitten. Let's leave him alone. And you find out, like, his fate, that he had trapped a ton of the spiders in glasses all over his floor, but he couldn't trap them all. So he ultimately succumbed to them. But if they had, like, helped him and had him go with them, he probably would have survived the whole thing. And then you've got the old lady that was in the chair, and this is where I'm talking about, like, you have that scene, and that's supposed to be like shocking with the spiders, but you can't really see it that well because it's very dark, and it's not super shocking when the spiders just come out. But like the other scene, there's a spider that comes out of her mouth, right? But it's just really slow, and it's just like a couple of legs, and it's hard to show. Like, you go like this, but like if I were to go on my side like this, maybe with the camera, and you see one leg come out, and then two, and then three, probably was really bad the way that was done. But I'm not a special effects masterpiece over here. So, but you have that. It's just like slow legs coming out. But it would have been great if like two legs pop out and maybe push her mouth open, and then the body comes out like somewhat fast to give you that shock and make it oh no like that. The scene that you see, it's the same thing that I'm describing, but because it's so slow, it doesn't have that effect of being shocking and creepy. It's just kind of it's like, okay, it's kind of creepy. Oh, it's kind of cool, the way they're doing it, but it just doesn't have that wow factor. And maybe that's what it is I'm talking about a lot in this film, is that this film just misses the wow factor in a lot of things in the way that it does. So you find a bunch of other people are dead. Like I said, we've had the police here, and then so they decide that they need to escape, and the way they need to escape is through the garage. And when they go into the garage, they have to go down this hallway that has a bunch of spider webs on it, right? As all the spiders have started really infesting this place around here. And they have that light on the wall that they have to turn to keep it on. And the sister decides, after the brother yells at her and calls her selfish, right? That you just want to do everything for yourself. You never, you never think of mom and what she would have wanted for us and what we would. And I'm not trying to live in the past, but you only think of yourself and you only think of what monetary gains you can have instead of thinking what the bigger community has. And I think there's a lot to say about that in terms of one of the messages that it has for the movie. And I could be 100% wrong with these things, but I feel like there's a sense of community that needs to happen, and that it doesn't matter what your situation is, whether it's hard or whatever, you all have to kind of stick together. And there's also a lot of talk, I would say, because since it is in kind of like, the projects of France, that there's one thing where they say, well, we could call the police and they'll help us. And he's like, you haven't been here for very long, have you? You haven't lived here for very long, because this is not the place that you get fast responses for. They'll be here, but they won't be here when you want them. They'll be here when they want to show up. And it's kind of the whole thing too with the cops like quarantining them, but not trying to help anybody leave. Like they explain a little why they did that later, but they first don't want to show anybody the body. They don't want to tell exactly what happened with it unless somebody had something to do with it. Right? So they have to go down this hallway, and in order to escape, they have to have one other person, like I said, do the light thing, and the sister volunteers. And I felt like the brother, Caleb, he could have been like, look, no, I know I called you selfish, but I don't want you to die, so I think I can make it too. But she kind of convinces him that, no, I'm going to be the one. I'm faster than you. I'll be able to make it down there perfectly fine. And so they all make it down the hallway, because I guess with these, and I don't feel like it's ever really explained, because like I said, they explained the whole thing with like how they multiply so fast. They don't explain how they grow so fast, but how they multiply so fast. But they don't explain the light, I don't believe. And I think that the spiders don't like light. These specific ones, when they're out in the light, they kind of freeze. And that's something that becomes something later on, but it's never really explained right. They talk about it, and maybe I just skipped over it when I was trying to read things, because when you look at the stuff they're looking on the screen, it requires some French to be able to understand some of the stuff, but they do kind of explain it. But I don't think that it's enough for a non-French speaking audience to really grasp the situation for the spiders. So I believe that it's said that they don't do well with light, right? They're mostly a dark nocturnal type of insect, and that with the light, the animals don't know what to do with it. The insects don't know what to do with it. So as long as they keep the lights on, the spiders are going to stay still. And she ends up, like, after everybody gets down the hallway and she's going down, then of course, she stumbles at one point, and she ends up in a cool looking scene. But again, the payout is bad, where she stands up and she's kind of in the web, and here's the spider, but she's got the match or the lighter turned on, and he's like, Caleb's like, oh, burn it. And she doesn't. She just kind of ducks and moves forward. And I'm just like, shouldn't the spider have at least like tried to go after her or something? Like, there should have been a little more, like, there's the tension of the spiders right there, but there's no payout for it. She just kind of ducks and walks away. Okay, why do you need that scene? See, there's a lot of that type of stuff that goes on in there as well. And when they get to the end, that's when you figure out that the cops are barring everybody in and keeping the building under complete quarantine. So they try to open the door and get out, and they say, "We haven't been bit. We need to get out of here. We're trying to, we're going to die if we stay in here." And they're like, "No, you guys have to go back into your apartments." But they don't realize that it's infesting every single aspect of everything that's around. So they have to go back upstairs. And I believe at this point is when they run into the other guy. When they go into the room as they're going upstairs, they run into the guy from before, and like, it's stupid. It's stupid because of another scene that happens in this movie that this is dumb, because like he attacks them with a crowbar after. I don't know if I can't say if this is before or after. I want to say this is after, because when they have to go back down the hallway, and that's when the ex best friend like stumbles and falls and gets trapped by the spiders and gets wrapped into a cocoon and gets killed. And it's a terrible resolution for him, because there is no resolution. Like, they were just basically surviving, and there's a lot of arguing back and forth between them, because we find out he knows a lot about the insects and that they both were kind of into that, and that's how they bonded on things. But he just still doesn't want anything to do with him, but nobody understands what exactly the beef is that goes on. And there's no resolution, even though they're trying to survive together. It's like, we're gonna put differences aside and like, let's survive. And then even then, like, he tells him to go on and go save himself. And I get it, because there's another scene at the end of the towards the end of the movie, when they talk about it and why he would just say, "Go save yourself," in terms of this. But I wish this would have gotten resolved differently. Like, what I would have done, because eventually, and I'll get to the reasoning how, but the other friend dies, the other male friend that's the MMA guy, he does die. And I wish that their deaths had been switched. I wish that friend died at this point, and then the other friend sacrificed him later, after they had maybe a chance to sit down and talk it out and be like, "Look, I'm stupid. We're trapped in here. I wish I would have never done the things that I did." And like, they maybe reconcile a little bit. And maybe that's the stupid like US mindset for me in terms of the way that movies work and how they move. But I just feel that they could have done something so much more with that. Right? I feel like they could have just they could have built more, because they built it up, and they built up the tension for them to it just to fucking drop. Right? And I want to get into it more in a second, but I have to get past these other parts, and we'll come back to that in a sec. So anyway, the guy from before that said he was dealing drugs hits him with a crowbar, and nobody tries to fucking stop the guy and grab the crowbar. And he backs him back into the apartment. He's like, we need to be out of here and to get out of here. He's like, "No, why? Are you hiding something in your room?" And I don't remember this is before or after, but like, I don't get why they didn't just stop the guy. Nobody tries to stop this guy from hitting him and like beating up on him. He doesn't have a gun. He just has a fucking crowbar, and they could have all just jumped the guy and stopped him from beating up his friend and saved that guy's life. But instead, he like tries to bring him back to like, "Oh, you got something in there, and that's the reason why they're doing this. That's why the cops, you're the one that's the cause of this. I know it's you." And so he's like, gets him to his room. He's like, "Fine, go in there," because they had like the box that he threw the cocoon in. There's one scene where they open it real fast, and there's all the bugs that like crawl, the fucking spiders, and they close it real fast. And then the MMA guy takes some like masking tape and like wraps it, which causes them to wrap the whole apartment in masking tape, also well to cover all the holes. But he does that, and then he's like, it's in there, and then he finds this. So the guy with the crowbar finds the box, and he opens it with a knife, and then all the bugs come out, all the spiders come out and kill him. I get it. That's the ultimate thing that you want to do, but in a regular situation, everybody else should have beat the shit out of him, because eventually they decide that they need to escape. They need to go to the roof. That's the best place, because they can't go through the garage anymore. So they go to the roof, and and it's a decent scene as they're trying to run away from the different spiders and everything like that. And they're like, "Oh, we couldn't make it. Yeah, but we got weapons these times," because they have the little firecrackers, and they've got some flares, and he's got like a winding flashlight. And that's where it's like silly, because you're like, "Oh, the flashlight can stop him." But if they are afraid of light, and it's from one of the last scenes of the movie where like that's where I think that there was something that we missed, or maybe something was missed in translation. Maybe we didn't see it, but it didn't get translated for us. That bright lights bother them, right? Because there is something that's at the very end of the movie that's fucking hilarious, by the way, that happens. And so they do make it to the roof, and that's where we have the reconciliation between the sister girlfriend and Caleb. It's not even the ex-friend that gets the reconciliation. It's the girl that was with him that gets the reconciliation. That basically tells him that, that, and this is where I believe that it was his sister, because he used to hide the fact that it was, I guess they wanted to build like a reptile kingdom together, like a place that people could visit and they could rescue animals and shit like that. And I guess one of the reptiles that Caleb had bit him in the leg and it caused injury to him. And he thought that he narked him out, right? And it comes out that he never blamed him. He always said it was just a car accident to people who asked and everything like that. So somehow somebody else found out that that was what it was, to basically protect him. And that's what he was doing at the end, like at the end of his like run of the movie, where some no, go save yourself, is once again he was sacrificing himself or like protecting Caleb once again at that point, in his life, rather than what happened before. So it's silly, but I just don't agree with it. Again, I would have had the other friend die at that point, and then instead of having the reconciliation with his sister, have it here with his ex-best friend. Like, look, I know things can't go back to the way they were, but if we survive this, I want to try to patch things that we had before. Like, even something as just as silly as that would have been good resolution. Is it the most interesting thing to do? No, it's not. It's probably one of the more boring things that you could have done. But even what they did with it in this movie, I think that's relatively boring too. So it kind of sucks. I don't really like it that much. And if you're going to do something a little boring, just do the cliche thing, in my opinion. Right? And this is for me. This is not saying for everybody else that's out there. Maybe you think it's better that way. I don't know. But for me, I want better resolution for things, right? And again, there hasn't been a whole lot of gore. There hasn't been a whole lot of spiders. It's mostly been talking to these people, and then spiders show up for like, I want to say the spiders are in this movie for maybe 15 minutes out of the total runtime. I think the movie's like an hour and 40. So you don't get a whole lot of spiders in the giant killer spider movie. It's not like it's arachnophobia or something like that. So anyway, so they're on the roof, they reconcile, and then the cops show up because the cops are trying to find out how they can quarantine the rest of the building. They run to these guys, and here, like I said before, they wouldn't jump the guy that was attacking Caleb before, but 4 cops show up, and they all fight the fucking cops and start jumping on the cops' back. Like, why would you do this now, but not back then? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you have it done this way? Like, is it because you still have some respect for the people that live with you? Everybody's got it hard, and game recognizes game, and I'm gonna trick you into killing yourself. Versus with the cops, like, we're back to being full NWA and fuck the police. Like, I don't get it. And maybe it's also because of the police knew what was going on and quarantined everybody. And eventually they do capture everybody, bring them to the garage. And the one cop you see from earlier in the film that told them you need to go back into your rooms or your homes. What also is funny too is that they're doing like work on the house. And I can't tell if it's a rental or it's a purchase unit. I'm like, they bought these units? It's weird to me. To me, that would be an apartment and you wouldn't be able to destroy the house to fix it. Somebody else would fix it for you. But I digress. And so basically they allow the 2 girls to be uncuffed or I guess they've got like the, not handcuffs, but, the zip ties around them or something like that. And so, we find out that his current friend, the bike stealer, he's been bitten by one of the spiders and he decides he's going to sacrifice himself. He's like, I'm going to run and kick the generator and then I'm going to go bust through the door and then you guys escape. And that's what he does. So he kills himself. And I think that, again, I think it would have been better if the ex-best friend, after it, everything was said and done, they reconciled. And then he's like, and then there would have been like, no, you can't do that. He's like, look, I don't have much left. You take care of my sister, yada, yada, yada. And then he goes and sacrifices himself for the whole thing. But instead, we get a character that we just don't give a shit about. I mean, I don't give a shit about most of these characters. Not even Caleb to some extent, right? That's why it's like, if I don't really care about these characters, why do I need all this extra backstory that amounts to nothing? So he does that. Then all the spiders come out and they start attacking everybody. And there's there's 2 scenes to the end of this movie. One, the sister and the brother get a kind of heartfelt scene where the sister breaks down because they break into a van and the spiders are slowly coming and they don't think that they're going to survive. And she acts like this is it for both of them. And so she starts telling him how like she does care about the place. That's why she's fixing it. She does care about her mom. She does think about her mom all the time. She's just trying to be stronger and hide it. You know, she's faking the way that she is. She wants to be, you know, a different type, not let it rule her life, but she really does. And they have a bonding moment that, oh, Caleb, the way that you thought was basically right and everything like that. And it's silly. I don't necessarily agree with it. With the way that, I mean, it's fine. It's better than the other one, but I guess maybe it is a lot better than I give it credit for. And like that would be fine. Like I don't think we need that. Either we don't need the stuff with the ex-best friend and that whole thing, or we need, you know, we need it to be different in the context of the movie, or just get rid of the other friend and just here have this guy instead. You know, whatever you want to do to make the movie better. So the spiders are coming and they're slowly clawing up the back of the van, right? And they're about to get to the top, and all of a sudden horns and lights sound, and it happens to be the sister girlfriend. She's got into a car. They run over there. He got shot in the leg, by the way, when he was trying to like run away. So he hobbles his limp ass over to the car. They get in there, and you get the funniest fucking scene. And like there was only one thing that I could think of when I saw the scene, and we all busted out laughing at this when I said it out loud to everybody. But so they drive out and they're driving through and like her tire gets shut off. So she's driving on rims and sparks flying everywhere. And then they're almost at the exit. And what happens? A giant spider is fucking Chris Pratting them from fucking Lost World right there with his hands out. Oh, I've got him. I've controlled the big metal beast. There's no way that you can stop this now. I watched this in a movie one time with dinosaurs, the Velociraptor. Yeah. So I, Spider, command you. And it's just it's fucking stupid. It's so dumb. But it's like a deer in the headlights because it doesn't know what to do with the light. And so, you know, he gets out of the car and he tells them that, hey, if anything, no matter what happens, you guys just drive straight if something happens. And when he gets out of the car, he tells her to turn off the lights and the spider skitters off. Climactic end. He lifts up the gate. Then we go outside and we find out that basically everybody inside the building died. 218 units are now available, and they decided to implode it because the infestation was too much to handle to clear out. So they just blew the whole thing up. And our last shot of the movie is Caleb like taking this one postcard as a picture of him and his buddy with a reptile thing on the bottom, and on the back talking about how they're gonna be friends for life or some shit. I forgot exactly what it said. And then he buries it. A spider crawls onto his arm. He grabs spider, cups, looks at it, and then just goes and blows the spider off, and then the movie ends. I just think the ending is anticlimactic and it's funny. I think that, like I said, I think a 3 out of 5 is fine because I think the creepiness factor is there. There's the like when they show the spiders, they do a really good job of setting up all the creepy stuff. There's but like I said before, there just isn't enough of like either the surprising stuff or just a little bit of gore. Because even like they show the dog Maggie, she eats the spider right after Tien kills it, and then she eats the spider, and then later on she's shown laying on her side, and the spider is coming out of her, but you don't see anything. It's just all blurry in front of the camera, and I thought it was coming from her face, but they're like, no, it's coming from her stomach. I'm like, I don't fucking know where it's coming at. It's coming out from somewhere, some random orifice of the fucking dog. It's just like, and again, when you have like even the spider coming out of the old lady, you see the legs coming out, but it's just so slow and like deliberate that I just wish it was a little bit faster. Or when you first see her and she starts twitching and they're like, you know, if her name's this, like Miss Jackson, you know, and then all of a sudden like the spider's legs come out of her mouth and start stretching a little bit, and then it starts coming out the front of her mouth a little bit faster, and they freak out and they run. Not, oh, here's a couple of spiders that, oh, it came from her head. And like 4 spiders, little spiders would run out. And then later on, you see the spider, the big one, coming out of her body. I just don't know. And I wonder if that spider is the one that we see at the end of the movie, too. Like I said, I think that there's way too much setup for the little payoff that you get in the movie. So that's it for this review. I'm sorry if this part seemed a little more jumbled. I had a whole thing, but like I said, it just didn't record with any sound from the mic because I'm an idiot, but make sure that you check out the rest of the reviews in the channel. If you want to follow Patrick, Crystal, or Angelo, Patrick is available at Solus_64 on Twitch, twitch.tv/Solus_64. I think here on YouTube he's just Solus64, but the links for everybody will be in the description. Dragonfly Rain, who's Crystal, she can be found on Instagram, Dragonfly Rain, and that's Dragonfly, FLY, right? And then it's RAYNE, which will also be in the descriptions and should have said it before, but should be showing up at the bottom of this thing here. And then you have Nello Angelo, or my cousin Angelo, Nello Angelo 420 on Twitch, and I think on YouTube he's Nello Angelo 02, so you can check out his channel as well. That is it for this one. There's new podcasts available after this recording. It either came out before or it came out after I released this. It's on Stay Alive. Please check it out. It's on all platforms available out there. And like I said, you guys like these reviews. I appreciate everybody. There's been a lot of people that have been subscribing lately, and I really, really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I'm getting back into building up this channel once again. And I've from the last couple of reviews, I keep seeing the numbers grow, and I know that I'm still a small guy when it comes to this world, but I do appreciate it, and I appreciate the people that have been checking out the reviews. So thank you, and it's the reason why I want to continue doing this, and I like doing the second section, which is the spoiler section with a short review section in the beginning. So make sure you check all that out. But yeah, you can find me over there. The other reviews that are up, as well as come over. And right now, I'm basically weekdays. You'll find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/terribleterrors. Come check out the channel. Check out everything that's going over there. And all the other descriptions for all the links are down below. Make sure, like I said, like and subscribe. Appreciate everybody. Y'all enjoy yourselves. Make sure that you take care of yourselves, each other, and we'll see you on another one of these reviews. So, bye, guys.